Welcome back, everyone, for finals here at the December League Challenge at Balance Patch in Allston, Massachusetts. I'm June, joined by the incomparable Jake, regional champion, my favorite TO. You can't say enough good things about this guy. Truly one of the best in, not even just the best in New England, best in the country.
Thanks, June.
And we're so excited for our finals matchup between John Lyons and Anthony Foti. We're going to get started with John Lyons' team. It's one that we have seen on stream, pretty recently in top 4. But going back through it, the Sand duo alongside this Annihilate, some very cool techs, I think, throughout the team. The one that I'm most excited about is this Annihilate. Not only the spell tag, where a lot of Pokemon, a lot of Annihilates will run things like safety goggles, which would be especially useful in the sand, leftovers if you're really running a bulky Annihilate. But no, it has spell tag to boost its ghost damage, which again should be Spooky Plate, the wrong item there, and taunt, no bulk up on this one.
Yeah, for the first time I'm going to agree with you on plate versus special item, solely for the fact that it's called the Spooky Plate.
Spooky Plate SSS tier +++
yeah,
item.
That one's just super fun. Spell tag, could be so much cooler. But yeah, John we just saw on stream last round beating Elena McFetridge with some very, very heavy Whimsicott beat up into Annihilate play in Game 2, and a lot more of a balanced, forced to play balance in the first game with that Salamence and Whimsicott. Annihilate effectively doing nothing in that Game 1.
That's to Elena's credit. I think this is a pretty tough matchup if you're the Rain team staring this down because of the Dragon, the Terra Water on the Annihilate, the anti-Rain.
Oh, she didn't have Rain.
Oh, yeah. She just always runs Rain. She didn't.
I was expecting it.
I was fully expecting Rain. Shows how much I paid attention last round.
You're all good.
But taking a look over at Anthony's team as well, how's he going to match up into what John's trying to do? A little bit more conventional, we were saying before we jumped on stream. The Scale Shot Dragonite Sneasler combination, something that we've seen a lot. No coaching on this Sneasler, instead opt for Fake Out, which makes a lot of sense to support Pokemon like your Golden Go and your Ursaluna Blood Moon. The Electabuzz, really a staple next to Blood Moon Ursaluna that has popped up in the last few events. And then, of course, Incineroar, the best Pokemon in VGC, right there is that defensive glue.
Yeah, looking at this team, I think I would give Anthony just the little advantage in this matchup. I don't see much on John's team that can handle Electabuzz and Ursaluna Blood Moon. Being the only spread move he has is Earthquake on Excadrill and Rock Slide on Tyranitar, so it's going to be tough to get around that Electabuzz and hit that Ursaluna for any important damage, meaningful damage. And even if you get around that, there's a Golden Go, too, which applies so much pressure to your team. I think John's going to have to rely heavily on Tyranitar and Excadrill, but at the same time, they're so threatened by this Ursaluna Blood Moon, and Intimidate from Incineroar possibly, and the fighting damage from Sneasler. So I would definitely give the edge to Anthony here. I think this one's going to be uphill for John, and I'm very, very excited to see how these two players play this one out.
Yeah, I will say from John's side, that Annihilate does look very strong here. No, you don't have the safety goggles. You're going to be taking a little bit extra chip if Sand is up. But the Incineroar doesn't really want to give the Annihilate some Defiant boosts. You're really, the Annihilate's the only Pokemon that you have that hits that Ursaluna Blood Moon super effectively with its Drain Punches, or the Close Combat rather, not even Drain Punch. And we are going to see that immediately next to the Whimsicott, staring down at the Electabuzz and the Sneasler on Anthony's side.
Yeah, so very curious what this is going to want to be here. I mean, if Electabuzz throws out an Electroweb, obviously this Annihilate is going to get a boost thanks to Defiant. But a taunt into the Whimsicott would be great if it wasn't also threatening the beat up into Annihilate. And Sneasler, even if it wanted to go for a Fake Out, that Whimsicott carrying the Covert Cloak is not going to let that happen and can just Terra away with Terra Water to prevent itself from taking too much damage from that Dire Claw. So Anthony, I'm not super fond of this lead. I would definitely give John the advantage here, but he's actually going to immediately switch out the Annihilate.
Yeah, I think an interesting decision for sure. I would agree with your assessment in that the Annihilate and Whimsicott very, very strong here, at least in this position. It is just going to be an immediate follow me, and I'd imagine the Sneasler attacks into this Whimsicott after the Tailwind goes off here. allowing Excadrill to for sure be faster than the Sneasler. And yes, it is just going to be a Dire Claw right into Whimsicott. John trading his priority Tailwind setter for the Tailwind. Classic play.
So the thing that I failed to see there was Electabuzz's Follow Me would follow me away that beat up. So beat up not a safe play and certainly wouldn't have worked out there. So I take it back, Anthony, with an absolutely fine lead there. But now that Excadrill and Tyranitar are on the field, this is the position that John needed to get in to stand a chance in this matchup, I really think. Going to be pressuring so much speed and could get the KO on this either of these Pokemon before they can even move, and threaten anything that might want to come in the back. Ursaluna Blood Moon still looking good, but Gholdengo in the back, definitely not as safe.
No, and this is where, this is the position that I think John really wanted to be in after that first turn. Fine with Whimsicott fainting there, because now you get your Excadrill with Tailwind and the Sand, nothing's going to be faster than it, next to the Tyranitar that can very easily just Terra Flying here, ignore its own, or ignore the Earthquakes from its partner Excadrill, and then start doing a lot of damage with those spread moves, the Earthquake and the Rock Slide. Yeah,
so not only was that Tailwind, helpful for getting Excadrill up and the Sand being that, but crucially, I really, really think that Tyranitar needs that Tailwind boost. It needs to outspeed this Sneasler. It needs to outspeed this Excadrill, or this Electabuzz, but we actually see Excadrill just going for a Protect as Sneasler goes for a Protect as well.
Yeah, I think an interesting Protect from John. You're in a very commanding position at that point. You were putting on all the offensive pressure. The Electabuzz doesn't threaten any damage to you, and if he would have gone for that Terra Flying Tyranitar play to just click Earthquake and Rock Slide, then Sneasler is not an issue. That Pokemon will faint, provided you hit that Rock Slide. 9 out of 10 times, you don't have to worry about the Sneasler. It could have clicked Terra Fighting and potentially lived the double up, but now you just let Incineroar come in for free. It threatens Fake Out onto your Excadrill, which is Terra Ground, cannot get away from that. We'll just be swapping out the Excadrill into the Annihilate, but at this point you've already lost 2 turns of your Tailwind.
Yeah, I'm shocked to have seen that play, especially considering the fact that, Incineroar did come in. Excadrill going for the Protect means it's not safe to just go for a Protect in the face of this Fake Out, and is forced to switch out here into the Annihilate.
Yeah, the Tyranitar will Terrastalize this turn, though. See if Anthony did call that, or at least calling the Excadrill switching out, where the Fake Out this turn went, if Fake Out even came out here. While Sneasler will just immediately click that Terra Flying. I have a sense then where this Fake Out might have gone. I'm thinking Anthony might have gone into that Tyranitar.
Yeah, so the Fake Out does go out here into the Tyranitar. Tyranitar not going to be able to move this turn, as we do get confirmation that Tyranitar in Tailwind is faster than this Sneasler. May not have been the case if the training were different. And a Terra Fighting Close Combat does a pretty good amount to the now Terra Flying Tyranitar. Not taking the bait, knowing that the Excadrill is likely going to switch out there, as the Sand is now going to chip away at these 2 Pokemon. I think John had a play here of just going for Terra Flying and Excadrill's Earthquake. If a Fake Out comes out, you're still able to get this Sneasler off the field with a Terra Flying Terra Blast or the Earthquake. Because, you can only Fake Out one of these targets. And no matter what happens, you're going to be able to hit the Sneasler.
Yes.
So very curious about that. Maybe just wanting to reset the Intimidates very smartly. But I think, as we say a lot, taking the foot off the gas.
Yeah, now Incineroar switching out, going to give Anthony another opportunity to intimidate the Excadrill and the Tyranitar later. Although, also giving John another opportunity for Annihilate to be intimidated, which that Pokemon always likes to be. This will be a close combat into what was the Incineroar, doing just under half of Electabuzz's health on that turn. That's going to be the only attack because of the double switches and the Protect from Sneasler. We are seeing, though, a little bit more Sand Chip racking up here. The Sneasler very crucially at -1 defense already. And Tailwind does peter out.
Yeah, I think a very smart play for Anthony there. A lot of people would be very tempted to go for something like maybe a Parting Shot with Incineroar, but just hard switching into that Electabuzz, saying, if there's I take that back. I think a Parting Shot into what was the Tyranitar would have been a better play here to reduce its attack and then get the Electabuzz in.
But if that happens, the Incineroar faints before it gets the parting shot off.
No, sorry. My brain thought Tailwind was up on the other side of the field of where it was. No, I take it back. I was right. The hard switch was way better, getting the Incineroar out of any danger, going into Electabuzz before it could take the close combat. Now getting Sneasler off the field in favor of the Ursaluna. The Electabuzz is going to... Oh my god, Revolving Door of Pokemon much. Annihilape is going to stay on the field alongside this Excadrill. Incineroar are going to come in, going to activate this Annihilape's Defiant, which is pretty scary. But Excadrill also taking the Intimidate. You know, a bit of a trade there, as Excadrill going to go for Protect.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the intention was there. The Ursaluna just going to go down to this close combat. You do at the very least get this Annihilape down to -2 defense, but nothing really deals with the Annihilape from this position. You now have given it the Defiant boost, so it has an extra stage of attack. The Sneasler should, for all of its speed, be faster than the Annihilape. The Electabuzz, potentially, depending on how those Pokemon are trained. But the Sneasler, the only move it has to hit the Annihilape is that Dire Claw. Not a lot of damage coming out into that Pokemon, and you've already utilized Terastallization on the Sneasler, so a close combat into the Incineroar slot is just going to take a KO, provided no Dire Claw shenanigans happen to this Annihilape.
For sure. I think Anthony played this game okay, but had trouble finding any of his footing to get any sort of advantage. Played out of certain positions, got Whimsicott off the field turn 1, did some good damage to Tyranitar, threatened the right targets with Fake Out. John kind of played a little more reserved, but Anthony still was unable to find his footing, unable to get any offensive opportunities in this game. And now down to just Sneasler to commit offensive pressure into an Annihilape, really ineffective.
Yeah, and it looks like Anthony is just going to play for those Dire Claw activations, or rather, the Dire Claw goes into what was the Excadrill, catching this Tyranitar. A phenomenal play there from Anthony, at least calling the switch correctly. Unfortunately, unfortunately for Anthony, Tyranitar survives that Dire Claw. We'll see if it's out of range of the sand damage, or rather, the Sandstorm ends right now. So it will be Tyranitar sticking around just a little bit longer, and Incineroar coming back onto the field. Another boost for this Annihilape. Granted, it is now at -3 stages of defense. I still think it eats a Dire Claw pretty comfortably, though.
Yeah, a lot can happen here. I think John's almost forced to bring out his Tyranitar if he wants Excadrill to outspeed anything. Anthony has to make a call of, is where Excadrill's coming in. Can he Dire Claw that, or does he have to close combat that? Does he go for a Fake Out into Tyranitar for the KO? Did he go for a Flare Blitz to try to catch Excadrill? It does still have its Focus Sash. Dire Claw coming out into the Excadrill slot is going to do no damage. The Incineroar is going to be slower than this Tyranitar. Tyranitar going for a Terra Blast is going to be able to pick up the KO on this Sneasler, and that all accuracy counted for. John is going to be able to win this one with both close combat, or even if he wanted to go for Earthquake next to this Tyranitar. I think this is a sealed up win for John, as we are going to go into Game 2 in a matter of moments.
Yeah, and impressive plays from both players, calling the other switches and calling the other players' attacks. The Flare Blitz burn, had that Annihilape not been around in the back for John, that Flare Blitz burn makes things a lot scarier because this Tyranitar has been intimidated now. Or actually, the Tyranitar came in after the Incineroar. It hasn't been intimidated. But Annihilape still comes back out, just clicks close combat, and that should wrap this one up. Again, very impressive play from both of them. It really does come down to Anthony didn't have great answers into this Annihilape. Just in the Pokemon that he brought, regardless of whether Tailwind is up, there just wasn't a lot of damage into that Annihilape. The Ursaluna Blood Moon is going to be your strongest Pokemon into the Annihilape, and it has Assault Vest, so it cannot protect. It is weak to the close combats. It's Terra Normal as well, so it doesn't ever, can never Terastallize to get away from that weakness. It can't protect, and it's slower.
Yeah,
so it becomes very difficult just to deal with that Pokemon.
I really think things went wrong for Anthony on turn 0. I think he analyzed this board state a little incorrectly. Leading Sneasler and Electabuzz, a support Pokemon with a Pokemon that's, it's known to do damage, but it's a faster supportive role and wants to get those Dire Claws off. Yeah, close combat can do plenty of damage. but let's say you needed it to take out Tyranitar. Well, Excadrill's right next to it, and it's going to outspeed, and it has the option of Terra. And the Excadrill has the Focus Sash, and if you get down to your Focus Sash, you're going down to the sand. You know, a lot of moving parts where I don't think Sneasler was the right lead here. Not the wrong Pokemon to bring in this matchup necessarily, but I do think what he needs to focus on, Anthony, is, as I said before Game 1 even started, getting an Ursaluna or a Golden-Go into a spot where it's well supported, either an Incineroar next to it, an Electabuzz next to it, and just start doing damage. You cannot play this one slowly, or else John is going to outbulk you and outdamage you.
Yes, just like you had said before the first game, the Electabuzz Ursaluna still looks very, very strong, even into what John had brought in that first game. Because of the high natural defense of the Ursaluna Blood Moon, you're going to be able to take multiple Earthquakes from this Excadrill, especially if Incineroar is intimidating it every other turn. You know, the Terra Water Golden-Go can do a similar thing. You know, it has that same naturally high defense. It is a little bit more vulnerable just because it has that Life Orb item. It's going to be taking recoil damage every time it attacks. And you have to Terastallize that Pokemon to get away from those Ground-type weaknesses. What I'm very intrigued about is this Dragonite.
Yeah.
It's the only option that is on Anthony's side that can really deal with the Annihilate defensively. The tricky part is how do you position a multi-scale Dragonite against Sand? Because if it's on the field at the end of the turn with Sandstorm up, you're going to lose your entire ability, and then it's just, you know, not a wasted Pokemon, but it becomes a lot harder for that Dragonite to do what it needs to. The exciting part about it is between the Scale Shot damage, which is pretty sizable, and the Tailwind, you actually have a way to make your Pokemon, you know, move first, which was a big problem in the early game there, forced a lot of defensive pivoting from Anthony's side.
Yeah, without question. Dragonite's the only option that Anthony has to keep pace with John, very literally in terms of the speed of this game, the speeds of the Pokemon, that is. And we are going to see Dragonite lead off next to the Electabuzz, and we see a very interesting lead of Excadrill and Annihilate. You know, both Pokemon there really like having their buddies in Whimsicott and Tyranitar respectively, but neither of them hitting the field.
Yeah, you'd imagine that, you know, they're two friends, and we just got a glimpse of them in the back for John, are in the back. You know, they brought him along to this battle, but I am interested, John kind of splitting up those two pairs. It does give him a lot of options here, you know, covering for if Anthony decided to do the exact same thing, you can then switch in your Tyranitar and be faster with Excadrill, or, you know, if this is the case, you can swap in your Whimsicott, survive, you know, things like this Scale Shot into the Excadrill if that comes out here. The real issue, though, is Anthony still, even with bringing Dragonite here, just doesn't have great damage into this Annihilate. Is forced to Terastallize the Excadrill immediately for fear of those Ground-type moves, or Electabuzz for fear of the Ground-type moves from Excadrill, now making it far weaker to the Rage Fist from this Annihilate that is trying to redirect.
Yeah, so not only that, but Anthony's in a position where if he wants to attack this Annihilate, he's going to be giving it a good number of Rage Fist boosts. And there it is. 4 to 5 Rage Fist stacks are about to come out. If Annihilate survives, it is not below half now, so 2 more hits is not going to do enough, but it is going to bring it very, very low. 4 hits it is, and we are in a spot where I believe the Electabuzz just got taunted. It can no longer follow me.
Yes, the Electabuzz was just taunted. Dragonite still does have its multi-scale, though, so it will still survive these attacks, and crucially, it got the speed boost from Scale Shot.
Yes. So Whimsicott no longer in a position, because of that Scale Shot, where it can break the multi-scale before the Dragonite can move. So gonna need to take out the Annihilate if he wants to get anywhere. And Anthony switching here into Ursaluna, maybe expecting John to go for a Protect on his Annihilate, and then an attack with the Whimsicott. But a double switch from Anthony here, applying no pressure. A Sneasler and an Ursaluna hit the field. Moonblast going into the Ursaluna, and if this is a Rage Fist, going to do no damage into the Ursaluna on this turn.
Wow, that's a pretty aggressive double up from John's end. I guess calling that Dragonite was either going to switch or try to click Tailwind. You know, again, just trying to keep pace on that turn. The crucial part there is that the Moonblast did get the special attack drop.
Yes.
So this Ursaluna Blood Moon now doing significantly less damage should still be enough to pick up this Annihilate from such low health, but into this Whimsicott or into the, especially the Assault Vest Tyranitar, not going to do much, forced to switch back out, and Anthony once again just keeping Revolving Door moving. Now Electabuzz right back onto the field as Annihilate does protect.
Yeah, so I think Anthony's playing this really well, knowing, you know, you have fighting moves and you have ghost moves, and I have a normal type and a ghost type right now. Make the right move or you're not hitting me. So playing, not necessarily 50-50s, but that mind game of, am I going to switch, am I not going to switch? As we see Annihilate go for Protect, Tailwind going to come out for John, now going to have the speed advantage finally as the Excadrill hits, the Tyranitar hits the field and offensively can threaten the Electabuzz. And if Sneasler's brought down to its Sash on this turn, also threatening that Sneasler with the Sandstorm.
Yes, now we're in the position that John really wanted, where we've seen all of Anthony's Pokemon. We know that he's committed Terastallization now to this Excadrill. This is a phenomenal position for John, I think, because you threaten the Rage Fist should be enough to one-hit KO this Excadrill. It's now a 250 base power move because of the 4 hits of Scale Shot.
Sure is.
And your Tyranitar, because of Tailwind, got the free switch onto the field with Whimsicott fainting, now threatens this Terraflying Terra Blast, assuming the Rage Fist is enough to KO Electabuzz, into the Sneasler for 2 knockouts this turn. And I don't think the Sneasler is going to be able to knock out either one of these Pokemon on John's side.
Not a chance. The only thing that the Sneasler can do here is hope that its Dire Claw lands the dice roll that it wants, as we do see the Electabuzz go down to that enormously strong Rage Fist, and a Terraflying Terra Blast going into the Sneasler is going to bring it down to its Focus Sash, as the Sandstorm now threatens the KO at the end of this turn. Can Sneasler do anything on its way out to keep Anthony in this game? A close combat into the Tyranitar is not going to be enough.
No, even with the critical hit, you see that Terra Flying is so important defensively for this Tyranitar. There's a reason why that is just about the standard. He does get the Poison Touch. Now this Tyranitar with the Terra Flying no longer has its immunity to the Sandstorm. It's going to be taking a significant amount of its HP in recoil damage at the end of every turn. That's not nothing. I think the important thing, I think what Anthony could have done though, the Dire Claw into this Annihilate, I don't think it would have knocked out the Annihilate this turn, but Dire Claw damage plus the Sandstorm residual chip could be enough, or puts the Annihilate into range of a Vacuum Wave from this Assault Vest Ursaluna that's now hit the field.
Yeah, I think the Annihilate is the big problem here. I don't think Tyranitar is threatening too much, especially when it looks like the ace of this match, as I've been alluding to, is going to be the Ursaluna Blood Moon, and still not in a position where it can do all that much. A close combat from this Annihilate is probably going to be able to get the one-hit KO, if I'm not mistaken. And Dragonite, it can Extreme Speed, but not into Annihilate.
No, it all comes down to this Annihilate. It does survive the Vacuum Wave. That was the crucial turn. This close combat, more than enough here. If the Annihilate had gone down to that Vacuum Wave, then we're in a position where no more Annihilate. The low kick probably not going to be enough to take care of this Ursaluna Blood Moon. And then we are dealing with this Dragonite that can Scale Shot into the Tyranitar. And now it becomes a very difficult game because of the Blood Moon Ursaluna still being on the field with Excadrill. Now that there's no more Blood Moon, the Excadrill comes out and can pretty freely clean up this game.
Yeah. So not having Protect on this Dragonite is certainly going to be a thorn in Anthony's side, especially because, he can't stall out this Sandstorm, he can't stall out this Tailwind now. And had he been able to, he may have had a chance with Dragonite. It's slim given that the Excadrill is going to resist both Scale Shot and Extreme Speed, but it would have given him something, and right now, just not having Protect is really going to decide this one, where a huge Rage Fist can just come out and knock out this Dragonite now that Multiscale is gone, and John is certainly going to be the winner here at Balance Back, as Iron Head's barely just not enough, and Rage Fist is going to clean it up.
Yeah, the Blood Moon Ursaluna really needed to be around to deal with that Excadrill. You needed some kind of, just extra damage into it, whether that is, the Hyper Voice onto the Excadrill's famously poor special defense, or, even better, the super effective Vacuum Wave or Earth Power into the Focus Sash on that Pokemon to break it. But just not enough tools, it felt like, on Anthony's side to deal with those powerhouses, the 2 duos that John kept bringing, the Whimsicott and the Annihilate, and that Tyranitar and Excadrill.
Yeah. I don't exactly remember what happened on turn 1. I do remember seeing the big scale shot, which was good and bad, but not following that up at any point. You know, having focus and then losing it so quickly could have won Anthony that game over John if he was able to take out that Annihilate, preserve that Sneasler a bit more to handle the Sand duo, but it's just not coming to fruition.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about that Dire Claw play. There were the turn that Anthony could have clicked Dire Claw into the Annihilate. Yes, it's a resist, but Sand is up. You're going to do some kind of damage. And between Dire Claw and Dire Claw 50% activation, plus Poison Touch, another 30%, you've got a pretty good chance of inflicting some kind of status onto this Annihilate. And even if you don't, should put it into range of a couple more turns of Sandstorm Chip, and if nothing else, puts it into range of a Vacuum Wave, which the Annihilate survived on very, very, very low health to allow John to win that game.
I think a Dire Claw there would have been way better than the close combat that he went for. Maybe forgetting that Terraflying Tyranitar could still Terraflying.
Yeah.
Maybe thinking, oh, I have to take out Tyranitar. But I really think with Blood Moon Ursaluna in the back, he needed to focus on that Annihilate.
Yes, and Tyranitar, honestly, my favorite flying type. I've never seen that Pokemon be Terraflying and not click Terraflying. And still, credit to John, though. It's really, really difficult to beat anyone in this game of Pokemon. It's especially difficult to beat the same opponent twice in one day. These two players matched up in round 4. John was the victor of that set, locked up John's place in top cut. If John didn't win that set, he wouldn't have even been in cut. Now, getting the run back and winning pretty convincingly in 2 games. An incredibly strong showing for John Lyons and an incredibly strong showing for this team, showing why those small little adaptations, the taunt on the Annihilate, the beat up on the Whimsicott, all those things that can switch a matchup, just make this so favorable for him in the finals.
Slightly unconventional choices that I think really paid off. Real big shout to taunt and close combat. Oftentimes we see a setup Annihilate, which you can do that with Rage Fist, but you don't need bulk up necessarily, and close combat being able to just knock out Ursaluna Blood Moon as opposed to something like Drain Punch, and Taunt being able to shut down any of that support instead of bulk up to boost your offenses. Just that immediate pressure of close combat, the shutdown nature of Taunt, I think that's a very, very cool Annihilate set, and I think it works perfectly for this team, and John really showcased it very well.
Yeah, incredible there, and great Pokemon all day. Anthony played phenomenally well throughout the day as well to make it 2 finals here today. 2 great players coming to the fore. It was so much fun. I don't know if we're planning on doing a winner's interview. Talk about it right now. Did you want to do it?
You can do it.
I can do it.
Yeah.
Bet. Okay.
Do you want to?
Yeah, I think give us 1 second. I don't know if Andrew wants to.
It doesn't matter to me.
Well, I was gonna say I don't know if Gerd wants to cut the stream for like a second for us to set up, or if he wants to just leave all this on camera. Marshall's gonna. Okay, cool. I mean, again, I was gonna say if you wanted to go to the be right back screen was my thing, but if we're just doing this all on stream, bet. Okay, cool.
Here you go, Marshall. Thank you. I saw you smile. I was like,
Larson was the biggest problem in the matchup, so.
But get on.
Are we hot? Hi, John.
Hi, how's it going?
I'm good. About you?
Pretty good. Feeling good now.
I was about to say, I hope you feel really good right
I do.
now.
I feel really good about that win.
So yeah. I think June said it best. Every time I've seen Terraflying Tyranitar, it usually cooks Terraflying.
Yeah, it's so good.
So tell us about this team. Obviously, we're at the end of Regulation H. We're encroaching upon the end. We still have about a month at this point. And talk us through this team and kind of your thought process through the entire regulation.
So I had originally come to this team with the idea that I wanted to bring Salamence. That was kind of my whole goal. Is my favorite Pokemon.
I love Scallion.
Yeah. So I was like, I have to bring it. I know it's not the best end of the meta right now, but I think it can patch that up with some holes. And it was originally physical Salamence, so I went, I'll just bring a Defiant so why did Annihilate? And when my friends went to Sacramento with the Annihilate Tyranitar Whimsicott core and did pretty well with it, so I was like, I'll just adapt that. Tyranitar is really nice for the Sun, for the Psy Spam.
Yes.
So we'll throw that on there. And that worked out really well. Magmar is, funny enough, my Dondozo answer. The Terra Grass, Clear Smog is nice for anything that's not Terra Steel, and Overheat's good for Terra Steel because the Unaware ignores my special attack drops.
Exactly.
So I can just hit him with the Overheat and get the damage off. And then the last thought was Golden Go for a long time. I was feeling like it was, again, another Sneasler check, which was really nice for Trinitar.
Exactly.
But Incineroar ended up being more of a problem than I would like it to be, especially when I had physical Salamence.
Exactly.
And that was at, I think, a couple last weekend. So I ended up switching it for Excadrill, originally just for the Global Challenge this weekend. But Excadrill kind of popped off in the Global Challenge. So I was like, we'll send it a challenge today, see how he does, and he's been incredible. The additional speed on top of Excadrill and Whimsicott's Tailwind with the sand as well is so nice. Having the special Salamence to hit Incineroar is really good, and Excadrill, again, is much better for Incineroar than Golden Go is.
Yeah, exactly. I think to your credit and some other folks here today, every time I've seen Excadrill's put in work. Like that's a good signifier of where Amon might have a good place. Even in a team, in a regulation, in a meta of just, hey, this is a good Pokemon. You should consider using it.
He fits into the niche. He's like, I think earlier in the meta of Reg H, he wasn't quite as good, but I think in the end here, he's picked up a lot, and I feel like he's definitely in a better spot than he was. He's sort of had his own pocket of usage.
I really do like your team because I feel like over this regulation, we've seen a lot of hard weather teams. So this is purely rain. This is purely sand. So I do like your inclusion of T-Tar and Excadrill kind of filled the sand part of the team, and the other guys kind of fill in as seen fit.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of got multiple modes. You know, the Whimsicott Annihilate mode is definitely the main mode it leads into. I feel like I have almost a toolbox going on with that between the Encore and the Taunt. So that feels nice. But then having the weather mode to just sort of turn my brain off and click Terra Flying, Terra Blast, and Earthquake is really nice too. So, and then Salamence has been honestly incredible for the Intimidate into Sneasler. Has been like one of the biggest parts, and then also it covers for the Rillaboom alongside Magmar, which otherwise give this team problems. So
again, even
really nice
you bring up Salamence, that's special because I also did your team check going to Top Cut. I think I looked at Salamence, did everything, and then I blinked, and I was like, yep, this is special Salamence. I'm not crazy. I'm reviewing the work that I literally just did, and you know, it's one of those very unique things that I think you love to see, especially in a regulation like this, where it is kind of very open-ended, and you're allowed to try funnier things, try more wacky strategies, try things outside the box, so when someone comes at you, you kind of have a sucker punch literally at the ready.
Yeah, exactly. And I definitely was like, Salamence will not be good in any restricted meta, and I really want to use it in Scarlet and Violet. So I was like, we'll make him work, we'll find his niche, whether that ends up being like bulky Tailwind support, physically offensive, but I think specially offensive has really been his bread and butter right now, so especially with it, Incin's definitely back on the rise. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, after he fell off a little bit in some of the regionals, I think one of the most recent regionals, he was back in the #1 slot. So
yes, I feel like every time, always a big stats guy, so I love every regional seeing the top 12, whether it be for TCG or VGC, and then seeing how that also translates going from day 1 to day 2. Because you can see a lot of top usage for specific mons in then day 1, and then see day 2 how drastically that can shift kind of on its head, honestly.
Yeah, so a lot of the mons fall off entirely from day 1 to day 2, which is always crazy. Or like mons that weren't in the top 12 in day 1 pop up and show up in day 2 top 12 usage, which is always fun to see like what the top players are using and what everyone else is missing in the field.
I always try to encourage people like never get in a specific whole mindset or like obviously over the past few years Incineroar has been very popular. But you know, especially in certain tournaments, you might be able to dodge certain heavily used mons. So you know, the stats are always nice to look at, but don't let the spiral kind of happen.
Yeah, exactly. You can't go in trying to counter team everything. It's not going to work. You got to have your team that you want, and then fill in the holes from there, sort of thing. So because you're not going to always run into those top 12 mons.
Exactly. So yeah, I think we're just about wrapped up here. If you have any sort of final thoughts, any parting shots you want to give out?
Oh, that's good. That's funny. Any regionals? Any upcoming regionals in Reg G?
I will be going to Toronto in Reg H, and then in Reg G, I think I'll be going to San Antonio for the. I think is that the first Reg G?
That is the first Reg G regional for North America.
Okay, yeah, I'll be there. So I'm excited to head back. Well, kind of excited to jump back into Reg G. So
we had the staff of our staff today. We've talked about the. Going back, I guess technically back to next to Reg G, and sort of the the coin flip that it truly is.
Yes, yeah.
Because we're going back into a meta where it feels very different from H. So
Incredible,
there is some sort of there's some. It's kind of a sweet ending, but also sour at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be very interesting. I think to revisit an old regulation. See, will it be the same thing? Will people start kind of flipping items on its head?
Yep.
Will we see the same thing we saw last regulation, or will it look a little different or a lot of different?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what people pull from Reg H to Reg G, if anything. I'm sure people are going to try to make Sneasel work. I'm not convinced it's going to work.
Same here, but you can most certainly try.
Yeah, people are going to send it, but I'm not convinced. So.
Yeah.
But awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, John, thank you for coming out as always.
Absolutely, yeah. Happy to be here. So
yeah.
Awesome.
Anything you want to yell at me yet, Gert, or are we good?
Nope, I think we're good.
All right. Woo! I'm going to keep doing this until I see the beat.